Danielle McCartan here at Radio Row, and I have been lucky to grab Kyle Rudolph here, a former Giant. I'm from Jersey, New York, but you're here on behalf of Good Sports. Talk to me a little bit about what the mission is.
Yeah, so Good Sports is a nonprofit providing gear and access to sports. Just got started with Good Sports this year. I spoke actually in New York City on a panel that they had kind of about nonprofit work in sports, athletes, brands, and I learned while I was there that 75% of parents consider taking their kids out of sports because they can't afford it. And I think about the childhood that I lived, how important sports were to me, not because I ultimately ended up playing professional sports, but because of the lessons I learned about life. And thinking about 3/4 of parents contemplating taking their kid out of sports because they can't afford it or they can't get the gear that they need. Good Sports has done an incredible job making sure that doesn't happen.
And cutting other things in order to afford the equipment. Because as a parent, I'm sure, I'm not, but as a parent, I'm sure you're like, you don't want to tell your kid, oh, you can't play football because I can't afford the pads.
No, that's what my parents did. My parents accumulated a ton of debt throughout the course of my childhood, so they didn't have to say no. Unfortunately, that's not the case for all parents. I was fortunate to have two parents that worked full-time to try to provide every opportunity possible for me, my brother, and my sister. So Good Sports is stepping up and making sure that these parents have the support that they need so their kids can play.
Awesome. Can I ask you a couple football questions?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Where does Travis Kelce rank top tight ends of all time?
I mean, he's solidifying himself at the very top. When you look at not only what he's done throughout the course of his 12-year career, but where he now is being mentioned in playoff statistics. When you're a tight end and you're being mentioned alongside Jerry Rice, the greatest receiver, a guy who most said receivers will never get close to his records, you have a tight end breaking those records. It's pretty insane to fathom, think about.
And then he's up there with Tony Gonzalez and all that, and he was like, wow, I can't even believe it.
Tony was a guy that I thought never, playing as long as he did, 17 years, put up incredible statistics, never thought someone would break his records either, and yet here we are, Travis has broken every one of his Chiefs records. And obviously Tony went on and played in Atlanta and was very productive in Atlanta as well. But for someone to come into Kansas City and, now be the greatest tight end in Chiefs history, there was a pretty good one for the Chiefs for a long time.
Exactly.
So definitely, I think Travis solidifying himself as one of the best.
How do you see this game going? Having played the game, I mean, you've got Saquon. Everybody knows the narratives. How do you see it going?
I'm rooting really hard for Saquon. Obviously, former teammate in New York, just seeing what he went through the year we were together, coming back off the ACL, battling the ankle injury when we were there, just all the adversity that he's fought through the last couple years, to have the year that he's had, it couldn't be happier for him. So rooting hard for Saquon, and that's tough for me as a former Viking, former Giant, to root for the Eagles at all. But I can't bet against the Chiefs until somebody ultimately beats them.
Exactly. It's almost like the Patriots. And my final question here is going to be, I do Sports Talk Radio in New York, and people are all kinds of conflicted. Giants fans are all kinds of conflicted. They want to root for Saquon, but they don't want to root for the Eagles. What do you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, we can root for Saquon and not root for the Eagles. But at the end of the day, I think you just have such a love for a guy who gave his all to that organization. He says, he's like, I didn't want to go anywhere. And ultimately, for 1 week, let's set our differences aside, root for Saquon, and we'll make it happen.
Awesome. Thank you very much.